Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the whole elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. The Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah, not Abba, not Yahuwah. It's Yahweh. Not Hashem. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua, not Yahusha, not Jesus. It's Yahweh Shah. So we got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rekah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elder bishop, and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth with the four winds of the earth, the entire world shall light to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the outworth who are listening learning, you few sisters who are listening learning. I'm Messiah from GMS Atlanta, Camp Prophet of Doom, coming into another lesson of truth, facts, faith, and edification. Another day of edification, Lord, what is be edifying. So I title this lesson, Your Government Shall Definitely Fail You. And I put both the words fail, one meaning like failing the test, and one meaning of falling your ass. Both of them mean trusting in the so-called white man, you're going to lose either way. You're going to fail. Trusting in the so-called white man, you will fail. You're going to fall. Your government shall definitely fail you. This is why protests is all over the planet right now, all over Babylon the Great America, first and foremost. But it's happening everywhere, man. The uproars of the people been going on for a while now. Other countries. So let's play some of that. So this is one. I did a lesson like this last year. Because I got 3 clips I want to play. One of them is from, both of these from last year. This one I didn't see. This is a different one. So this is about how these devils, well, the so-called white man is purposely crashing everything because he's setting up that new infrastructure, this new system, which they deem, right? They call it the one world order, the one world government. Everything got to crash for something new. Anytime they bring in something new, the old got to go out. Everything is becoming obsolete because they create a new system. So, Lord willing, be edifying. Turn this volume down. And there's always Eve on the forefront. You already know.
No break! No break! No break!
The housing market is a catastrophe.
And this is just, as I was making a point yesterday, which I make this point a lot, this is just Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah taking away the foundation of our people. Everybody else that's suffering behind this, you just collaborative damage and casualties of war. The so-called white man, the elites I'm talking about, they don't know who's Israel and who ain't. Because their whole goal is to target you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. They need to get rid of you. This is why they're setting up this whole new emerging man with machine, basically cyborgs, because they know about reincarnation. They know that the Israelites going to keep coming back. We all come back every third and fourth generation. They need to get rid of the Israelites. And mainly more than that, they need to get rid of the elected Israel. This is why I tell you Revelation 12 and 17, that the dragon is wrought with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. If they can wipe out coming back every third and fourth generation of reincarnation, the Israelites won't come back no more. Then it'll just be them in power. This is why this Georgia Guidestone are maintaining the world at 500 million. The elites know that we come back every third and fourth generation. If they can wipe out the Israelites, then they have a sure birthright and not worrying about them losing their power to the Israelites, because they know about Yahweh Shai. They know about the Israelites, the elect, the dominance of Yahweh Shai and the 144,000. And the Israelites overall ruling the earth. They know about this. So what they're trying to do is wipe out the Israelites so they can have their Edomite birthright. But they need to get rid of the Israelites. So what they are doing, because they don't know who's Israel, because Israel is scattered across the four corners of the earth. Israel look like every nation. So what the so-called white man is doing, he's targeting our people with food, the water, the air, chemtrails, right? Everything, man. It's in everything. It's everywhere. And as the brother Damawafi had mentioned a couple months ago in camp, the so-called white man has target. He's using everything as a weapon against you Israelites. So if they can't get you with food and water, right? If they can't get you with chemtrails, if they don't get you by dying by cancer or AIDS or any disease out here, high blood pressure, diabetes, if you don't die by one of these ailments that they created, then we're going to get your ass by causing your rent to go up, which you ain't going to be able to afford. So then you'll be homeless. It's going to lead to two things. You're going to be homeless and you're going to take shit, or you're just going to take shit and then you're going to get killed or locked up. One way or the other, it's all designed to trap the Israelites, to get rid of you. If they can't get rid of you by diseases, selling drugs, right? They'll get your ass by inflating the money, creating higher rent, making homelessness. One way or the other, they're gonna get rid of you. This is the elite's goal, man. They got to get rid of Jake. This is the only way they can live comfortable, what they think, and have a Edomite birthright that will go on forever. They got to wipe out the Israelites. So because they don't know who Israel is, this is why they do the census, to see how many Negroes over here, how many Negroes over there, how many Puerto Ricans and Dominicans over there, how many Haitians and Jamaicans over there. This is why they do census. Esau don't know who's Israel. So what he going to do? Everybody's collateral damage and casualties of war. So he's going to get rid of you one way or the other because he don't know who Israel is. So he's targeting everybody. He don't care about the so-called white people that's living amongst Jake. They could be Israelites. Who knows? What he's going to do is wipe out everybody. If you're not one of the elite 60 families, they're trying to wipe you out, which the Lord ain't going to let happen. But this is what's happening. Let's listen.
Rental prices across the United States.
And something's got. The housing market is a catastrophe.
Record rental prices across the United States.
And something's got to give.
Living in America is freaking ridiculous right now.
I can't afford any of these apartments.
$1,800 for a one-bedroom apartment.
$1,400 for 485 square feet.
I guess I just live in my truck.
Over a third of Americans are renters, and if you're in that category, you probably don't need to be told that the rental market is out of control. The question is, can anything actually be done about it? A historic wave of tenant organizing, unlike anything we've seen in decades, has found one answer: national rent control.
And this is my thing. They think they can do something about it. You can't do nothing about a controlled system. It's controlled. But let's just listen.
Tenant movement is absolutely within striking distance of rent regulation at the national level.
But it's not just tenants who are organized. This is also a story about how some of America's biggest landlords, banks, and private equity firms are hiding behind innocent-sounding front groups, all while pooling their money to keep your rent high.
I moved into Waldo Heights in 2018, so I've been here 5 years now. And every year since I've been here, my rent has increased every time my rent is raised, I'm at a crossroads of being evicted.
Millions of renters like Val are trapped in a rental market that's built to empower abusive landlords who can raise rents each year while allowing conditions to get worse and worse.
The mice, the roach infestations, sometimes they don't pick up our garbage. When I first moved here, I was told that the security gate was going to be fixed. The gate is still not fixed, and so people come in and they sleep in our hallways. I'm afraid sometimes to come in my building at night. My landlord is Landmark Realty, a corporation based in California. They don't care. They just don't care.
Since the last financial crisis, rental units are increasingly owned and operated by corporations like Landmark that are accountable, first and foremost, to their private investors. For tenants like Val, legal protections against abusive landlords are often limited. But she discovered one powerful way to fight back.
So me and my neighbor, my best friend down the hall from me, we just said one day, she was like, let's call KC Tenants. And I said, okay. So I called and I left a message on the hotline. And a couple of days later, I got a phone call back.
A group called KC Tenants were fighting to stop eviction hearings at the Jackson County Courthouse.
Evictions will kill people like me.
Charged crowd packed City Hall for more than 3 hours. The yellow shirts in the room are tenants, each with their own personal story.
In a national housing crisis where rent inflation has vastly outpaced income growth, groups like KC Tenants have given their members power to take on their landlords.
We have written and passed a tenant's bill of rights. We've won free lawyers for every tenant facing eviction. We've organized buildings and neighborhoods. And just recently, we elected 4 members of city council.
And that movement seems to be growing.
Places like Louisville, Kentucky, Bozeman, Montana, Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
The current surge in tenant organizing is the most significant since the 1970s. And it's allowing renters to fight for the kind of big relief that only the federal government can enact.
There are millions of tenants across the country being squeezed by landlords like Landmark, and our federal government is bending active. That's right. We can fight back by winning rent control for everyone at Waldo Heights and for tenants across.
When Landmark Realty secured a mortgage for Val's...
This is what amazes me, because these people think they tell me they can fight back. You can't fight back. Who you gonna fight back to?
Building in 2014, their loan was actually backed by the federal government. Corporate landlords like Landmark often benefit from lucrative loans through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, government-sponsored enterprises that purchase mortgages from banks and set terms for them. With 1 in 4 apartment units across the country financed in this way, the government is essentially in business with our landlords. But that may be just the leverage that renters need.
We want to see every dollar of federal financing conditioned on a set of tenant protections. If you're borrowing on really favorable terms, that money is backed by public dollars, you should be on the hook. You shouldn't be able to increase your rent 20% and evict a whole lot of tenants to maximize your profits for your investors. What we want to see is them say, if you're borrowing from a government-backed enterprise, you can't increase the rent more than 3% year over year.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are regulated by the Federal Housing Finance Agency, or FHFA. Thanks to the work of tenant organizers, the FHFA is seriously considering policy along these lines. But there's just one problem. Tenants aren't the only ones who are organized.
We're here at the National Multifamily Housing Council because the rent is too motherfucking high. They've spent so much of their time lobbying to make sure that rent protections don't exist for people like us.
Landlord industry groups like the National Multifamily Housing Council spend millions.
See that? See this? Oh, everybody out there, man. Edom, Judah, Ephraim, Elam, they all out there, man. Esau don't care, man. He's trying to get rid of you, Jakes. And to do that, he have to target all nation of people, man.
Industry groups like the National Multifamily Housing Council spend millions lobbying Congress and federal agencies to oppose rent control. Since the start of last year, the NMHC has spent almost $10 million lobbying against it. The NMHC's members include major banks, private equity firms, and some of America's most notorious corporate landlords, like Greystar, Avalon Bay, and Blackstone. Blackstone is the world's largest private equity firm, and by some accounts,
all owned by the elites, man. No matter what we do, what people try to do, this is all pre-programmed, man. Just like the Lord got a predestinated elect, this is all predestinated, man, pre-programmed. They doing this on purpose. The whole goal is to get rid of the Israelites. You know the whole goal of Yahweh Bahashim Hamashah is to do. You know the so-called white man's purpose, other than being the Lord's whipping stick to the Israelites. The so-called white man's purpose, as it tells you in Revelation 16, is to gather all the nations, to fight, because they all put their hands on the Israelites, man. It's simple. This is the simplicity in Yahweh Shai, man. Their whole goal of existence is to gather the nations to be destroyed, man, by the hand of the so-called white man. It's just that simple.
the largest landlord in the U.S. In recent years,
and the only ones that are going to suffer in this is 2/3 of Israelites and the rest of the heathens that trusted in this system, man. No matter who the Hophelek is, the elect, they're going to be good. Whether they got to go stay with brothers, they're going to be good. Because the scripture talk about we pilgrims right now as it is. We've been pilgrims. In Hebrews 11, let me read this. Hey, that's why I be mentioned from time to time. Hey, you sisters out there, man. These sisters, hey, y'all need to get together, link up, create an app or something, and stay in contact, man. This is read this. I forgot what I was finna get just that quick. Damn it. I forgot what I was finna go. Let me let this play till I figure it out.
Private equity firms like Blackstone have increasingly been buying up housing assets, often with lucrative loans backed by Fannie and Freddie. Tenants have complained of rent hikes, evictions, and faceless corporate landlords unresponsive to repairs. The UN even accused Blackstone of worsening the global housing crisis by buying up properties and hiking rents across the world. Meanwhile, Blackstone CEO Stephen Schwarzman earned $1.3 billion last year. For private equity firms like Blackstone, membership in lobbying groups is a way to protect their profits against threats like the current push for rent control. A 2023 lobbying disclosure shows the NMHC has been lobbying the Biden administration against rent control and the FHFA's oversight of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And it's not hard to guess what their lobbyists are saying in those meetings.
No, we just had a team of people go into the NMHC offices. We did a meeting with their government affairs director. Cindy told us this is just a problem of housing supply.
See? Edomites out there, man. And a lot of them Edomites be Jake, man. This is our Hebrews 11:8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for inheritance, obeyed and went out, not knowing whether he went. The Lord told Abraham to leave his father's house, man. He didn't know where he was going. But the Lord showed him something that made his faith on 1,000, man. By faith, he soldiered in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Where was Esau? It doesn't matter. It reads, verse 13, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. So no matter what happens, we're going to lose everything here, man. Hey, when Jacob Trouble happened, all you're going to have is the clothes on your back, man. Wherever you're going to be at when it happens, all you're going to have is what you got on. Now, if some going to be at home, you got some might be at home. They probably got a bug out bag right by the front door. But what if you got to leave out the side door or the back door? You might not be able to grab your bug out bag. But, hey, all you're going to have is what you got on. Or if you're able to grab your bug out bag and you got an outfit in there with shoes and socks, hey, maybe. Hey, get you some good boots. Get you some good walking, running boots and keep them by the front door. Hey, or keep them in your car because you might be at work. And in the scripture, the Lord told them, hey, they in the city, don't go back. You might not be able to go back home. Who knows? But we are pilgrims. And everything that you got now, whatever it is, a little bit, lot, it's going to be gone, man.
That's a common argument from industry lobbyists, that if rent control limits developers' potential for profit, they just won't build as much housing. There's no question we need to build way more housing. And there are vigorous debates among housing advocates about how to do that through policies like zoning reform and public financing. But all of those proposals would take years to have an impact on rents. And the fact remains, renters need relief now. Time will tell if the federal government sides with tenants or corporate landlords like Blackstone. But the fact that these tenants have gotten this far is itself historic, and a sign that those of us who are renters may have more power than we think.
You got no damn power, man.
What's your name? A-N-G-E-L-A?
That's a distinct talking about power. You don't got no power. This sucker white man got all the power. His target is to target you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians because he's trying to get rid of us, man. But it ain't working. So now he got to target everybody because Israel is everywhere.
It does feel different living here and being a part of KC Tenants. When I would take pictures of the trash and send it to the property manager, he said that I was harassing them, that I needed to move, or he would use my lease to evict me. But when he realized that I had KC Tenants behind me, backing me up, I've heard nothing else from him since.
Yes, baby Z, whatever you're doing, I love it. Looks like she's conducting this choir. Let's do one last, I believe. Damo, you're on.
I believe! I believe! I believe that! I believe that! I believe that we! I believe that we! I believe that we will win! 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 I believe that we will win!
Dude, man. And they got a Shiva Jata nigga leading the pack. Dude, man. Let me get this next clip here. Hey, your government gonna fail you, man. Whether you you failing the test or you falling on your ass, the government gonna fail you, man. This is let's get this one here.
The Phoenix area. Investigators with the state attorney. It's late 2023. The Phoenix area. Investigators with the state attorney general's office are looking at apartment rents. They're up 76% since 2016. Something is off. These 4 building rents are 12% higher than others, but they offer similar amenities. They have different landlords, so you'd think they should be competing with one another. But they weren't. The prices were allegedly being set by one entity, an algorithm owned by a company called RealPage. In fact, this was happening everywhere in the area.
That's old-fashioned price fixing using new technology.
We allege, in effect, a housing cartel.
Over 2,000 miles away, something similar is happening. It's alleged that all of these different units, their prices were set by one single algorithm, which sounds bad. And it could be happening in cities and states across across the country. Renters have filed over 30 different lawsuits against RealPage.
We're going to talk about what all this means, how algorithms, these black boxes of data, are shaping our markets and giving an incredible amount of power to the few, and how the Department of Justice and some state attorney generals are fighting back. Because this is a story about how a few lines of code broke the American housing market.
What is RealPage?
So RealPage is a company that operates software that allows landlords to input their data into an algorithm, and then RealPage sets the prices for all of those landlords. This is actually against the law.
Attorney General Mays isn't the only one alleging this.
Our allegations are that RealPage, in combination with 14 of the largest landlords here in the District of Columbia, are effectively colluding with one another to set rents.
Across America, rent is up 20% since 2020. The Attorney Generals of Arizona and DC are suing RealPage and a host of big landlords, alleging that an algorithmic housing cartel is helping drive up prices.
In the pre-RealPage days, landlords would compete with one another.
They played a guessing game with rent prices. Push it too high and people move, leaving landlords hunting for new tenants. It was a delicate balance, a market. And I'm not sure if it was fair, but it wasn't rigged. An algorithm helped change all of that.
We're talking about an algorithm that aggregates otherwise confidential information that the landlords have that ordinarily they would not share with their competitors.
Data like rent prices, lease expiry dates, any deals they offer to tenants.
That allows then the algorithm to spit out a pricing recommendation, all designed to keep the overall market at its highest peak.
They are not charging what the market can bear. They are controlling the market. It's leading to the exacerbation of our affordability crisis, our housing crisis here in Arizona.
If you could imagine a smoke-filled room where the landlords, the largest landlords in the District of Columbia, came together to decide what they were going to charge in rent, to share their confidential information, everybody would be able to see that that's an anti-competitive practice.
Until recently, using shared pricing algorithms like this flew under the radar. If your algorithm set prices, you'd just say, it's not cheating, it's a suggestion. Not anymore. Lena Khan and the FTC have said, just a suggestion? That's price fixing, no excuses. And RealPage, according to the lawsuits, they weren't even pretending the prices were suggestions.
RealPage has a system set up where the landlords who have adopted the system agree to a set of rules.
One of the rules is that RealPage gets to set rent prices. If landlords want to charge less than the digital oracle suggests, they have to justify their decision.
The justification needs to be reviewed by RealPage. RealPage can push back against the justification.
And if you push back too much, RealPage can kick the landlord out of the scheme, with one insider telling investigators, sometimes we were happy to see customers go.
They also had a policing agent that would go out and make sure that the landlords and their leasing agents were staying in line and not deviating from the price that was being set.
This scheme, if true, has had a real tangible impact on Americans.
RealPage advertises that it's going to increase revenues 2% to 7% for the participants in the cartel.
What RealPage is telling these landlords and is doing with these landlords is, don't worry about occupancy rates anymore. It doesn't matter really how many people move out of your building, you're still going to grow your revenue over time.
How? Through these coordinated price increases.
In Phoenix alone, we've seen rent increase 76% since 2016. It is almost certain that people were evicted as a result of these price increases, and that some people were made homeless by them.
To their prospective customers, the landlords, RealPage is pretty open about all of this. You can go to their website, type in a zip code, and view a sample of what buildings are using the software, along with any corresponding price changes. We'll see, this building right here, rent is actually down about 4%. If we just zoom out a little bit, a few blocks over, this rent is actually up 4%. They used to have videos where landlords talked about how RealPage's algorithm pushed them to raise rent, but the company deleted it after the Washington Post ran a story. On investor calls, they're flat out saying the algorithm is going to recommend higher lease rates for every property. But the company goes to great lengths to train landlords to hide this scheme from renters. Landlords were coached across a variety of scenarios and told not to mention RealPage or pricing algorithms to tenants. Instead, they were supposed to say stuff like units were being priced individually. RealPage and the larger industry dispute the charges. Since the onslaught of lawsuits, RealPage has largely stayed quiet, ignoring our request for an interview. But the industry has published a paper defending itself. They make a bunch of different arguments, but it boils down to two major points. The first, sharing info doesn't mean they're teaming up. Why? Because the rental world is just too big and too messy for any sort of secret deal to stick. But that doesn't seem to stand up to scrutiny.
The RealPage algorithm is being used by nearly 90% of the apartment owners in the DMV.
RealPage controls 70% of the rental units in Phoenix, and that they control at least 50% of the market in Tucson.
90% in DC, 70% in Phoenix. That hardly seems like a fragmented rental market. And their second point, more houses, not less data sharing, is the real fix for high rents.
That's bunk. You know, we've got apartment units all over Phoenix that aren't being rented right now because people can't afford them. The spaces are there, but people can't afford them because these landlords are setting artificially high rent via an algorithm, and that is just unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable.
Things are shifting. Renters are banding together in class action lawsuits. Arizona, DC, and possibly North Carolina are suing. They want to end the scheme, refund renters, and fine companies like RealPage. The DOJ has started a criminal investigation into the whole thing.
I don't think this is just an Arizona-based problem. This is not the only place where algorithms are being used to set prices.
This is, to me, one of the bigger kind of issues facing kind of our economy and consumers in the next decade or so.
There's a lot of positive things that algorithms and machine learning can do for society, but there are also risks associated with it. We can't be afraid of technology. We have to lean in and learn about it and make sure that we're keeping the public safe from the abuses that can sometimes flow from misuse of technology.
All right, so then come back to me. Get this last one here. You see, this is all leading to people protesting, man. What said? What's the guy from No Limit? Take it to the streets, man. But you're gonna lose. We talking about the government, man.
Life, and this is what it comes down to. Some person wanting his big chunk out of what little bit I had.
How much longer can you afford to live in your home?
1 month. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Hope that I don't wake up tomorrow. That's crossed my mind.
One of the most important forms of affordable housing is under threat. They're called manufactured housing communities. You might know them as mobile home parks or trailer parks, and they often get a bad rap. But 22 million Americans call them home for a reason.
We're pretty much the last oasis of affordable housing in this country.
These parks are at the foundation of America's housing market, often the last line of defense against homelessness. But over the last decade, these communities have become the target of a new kind of landlord: private equity.
Private equity firms are increasingly getting involved.
Some of the biggest investors in America have moved into this industry.
People living at a local mobile home park outraged over the sharp increase in lot rent.
Rents were raised by nearly 60%.
Their rent could increase by thousands of dollars a year.
A group of mobile home residents are protesting their living conditions.
It's like you genetically bred a superior predator and let him loose in a target-rich environment. This is actually a good day. Sometimes it's like mud.
This corporation is putting profits ahead of the safety and welfare of our local citizens, and this we will not allow.
So why have manufactured homes become private equity's latest target? and what can be done to save one of the last forms of affordable housing in the country.
I've lived in manufactured homes for 50 years, maybe more.
Madeline Beckett lives in a park outside of Lansing, Michigan.
This park was run the way a good park should be run, by the same couple for years and years and years. They were a little stern, or she was a little stern. She was a lot stern, but nobody pulled any punches with her.
Like most people in manufactured housing, Madeline owns her home, but pays monthly rent to the park owner for the land it sits on.
When I retired, I looked at my money and my situation, and I'm like, okay, great. I knew what the rent was. It was 1/3 of my income. I don't live high on the hog, you know, I'm not going to Paris anytime soon. And then the conglomerate came in and offered apparently the owner money that he couldn't resist. I looked it up and I went, oh dear, I think we are in trouble.
3 years ago, a private equity firm bought Madeline's community and later sold to another firm. Since then, her monthly rent plus fees have jumped 50%.
Instead of what I thought the rent was going to be, it's $200 more. I have nowhere to go. Just the other day, my daughter went with me to the food bank, and I hadn't done that before. I haven't been poor. I worked for 45 years. There is no American dream anymore. All it is survival.
During the pandemic, institutional investors started to buy more manufactured housing than ever before. Between 2020 and 2021, they made nearly 1/4 of all manufactured home purchases in the US. Today, 12 private equity firms own at least 1,200 parks nationwide, according to the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. In Michigan, private equity owns 1 in every 10 parks.
There is an overall trend in our economy to identify who has the fewest choices and then squeeze them.
Paul Terranova organizes manufactured housing residents in Michigan.
While folks often call them mobile homes, they're not really particularly mobile. Wall Street investors.
Israel strikes Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is on fire.
Funds kind of figured out that folks living in manufactured housing communities are trapped. They can't move.
It costs $10,000 to $20,000 to move one of these homes, and most people who live in them can't afford that.
If you think about the fact that the average manufactured housing resident lives on about $35,000 a year, that's generally out of people's range.
Because they can't move, they're uniquely vulnerable to predatory landlords who can charge the highest rent residents can bear.
There's a guy named Frank Rolfe who runs something called Manufactured Housing University.
Okay, we're now at her second park. We're getting out again. So here we are.
He was quoted saying something along the lines of, owning a mobile home park is like owning a Waffle House and having your customers chained to the booth.
The big thing is they can really tolerate rent increases really well. And it pretty much works throughout America because there's so much need for affordable housing right now.
That business model, a reliable stream of payments from captive tenants, is a big reason why these parks are so lucrative, providing investors with one of the highest annual returns of any asset in real estate. Higher than offices, commercial, industrial, you name it.
Hey, trailer park.
This is a financial play to them. They don't care about us. They'd just as soon evict us, take our homes, and then rent them out to somebody else for $200 more.
Theo Gantos lives in a park near Flint, Michigan. 3 years ago, it was taken over by Homes of America, an affiliate of the hedge fund Alden Global Capital. Alden Global is best known for buying newspapers across the country and stripping their assets.
Yeah, we had a pool, before the Homes of America. We still pay the same amount as though we had a pool and as though we had a community center, but we have no community center either.
Since 2021, Homes of America has gone on a buying spree, spending nearly $300 million to acquire 138 parks across 17 states. They've raised rents and aggressively evicted residents. After years of neglect, only about 15% of the lots in Theo's park are still occupied. And who is Homes of America?
Homes of America is just a shell within a shell within a shell. Homes of America is Randy Smith.
Randall Smith is the founder and chief investment officer of Alden Global. He lives in Palm Beach, Florida. As of 2017, he owns 17 mansions. He has since sold 14 of them for a reported profit of $57 million.
Yeah, this is the plunder of private equity. This is what they do.
Okay, everybody ready? Everybody rolling? All right, good afternoon.
In August, the county prosecutor brought charges against Homes of America's local LLC for operating the park without a license. It's the first time that the owner of a manufactured housing park in Michigan has ever faced that criminal charge.
A key element in the North Morris Estate's inability to obtain a license is its seeming refusal to fix the park's water problem.
Well, when the water comes out like this, it kind of ruins your whole day.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get the attention of the out-of-state corporation that owns this park and force its officers and directors to do the right thing for the residents of this community. It's clear to me this corporation is putting profits before people.
Honestly, the warrant should be to Randall Smith, CEO of Alden. But he's hidden himself behind multiple shell layers. So getting to him is hard.
These big companies buying up these communities now need some oversight, because right now they're free to abuse residents in pretty much every way they want.
Holly Hook lives 30 minutes away at another park, owned by private equity firm Haven Park Communities. That's the same company that bought Madeline's Park, and it owns 63 other parks across the country. In the last 6 years, Haven Park has doubled Holly's housing costs. To avoid homelessness, she's had to take on 2 roommates. What power do you have right now in the existing legal structure to do anything about the rising rent or any of the fees?
There's absolutely no recourse right now. About a year after this started, it's like something just broke in me, and I started talking to some neighbors, saying we've got to gather and do something about this.
Residents were up in arms, and they started going to their local township council meetings and their city council meetings. And a few of them were able to make contact with a couple of state representatives, a Democrat named Senator John Cherry.
A lot of people from the district went up to him and told him about what Haven Park was doing, and that's what got him interested in drafting the bill package.
What the legislation tries to do in the broadest sense is to weed out the bad actors in the industry. What we're trying to do is make sure that folks don't get exploited. That's what this is about.
State Senator John Cherry is the sponsor of legislation that would protect residents from the worst abuses of predatory landlords. The bills were drafted in 2021 by a coalition of residents and advocates in direct negotiation with the landlord industry group.
It was a very collaborative process that actually included the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association.
The legislation would require landlords to justify any rent increase above the rate of inflation in front of the state commission. It would also limit the fees that landlords can charge, make utility charges transparent, require notification when a park is sold, and force landlords to pay fair market value for a home if a resident is evicted.
These are really modest protections, so it's not everything that we need right now. It's not gonna set the rents back to what they were or anything like that, but it would start to make things more fair. It would just be a modest start.
In the state's last legislative session, the legislation passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support.
The bill is passed.
But then something changed.
In the early part of 2022, the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association did a 180, pulled their support, and it died in the Michigan State Senate.
Of course it is. Your government has failed you.
When we looked at the records, we did see that that coincided with the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association Political Action Committee suddenly getting some very big donations.
Of course.
Over the course of a year, 2 Haven Park executives gave $358,000 to the industry PAC.
And that's right when the Manufactured Housing Association just totally pulled their support.
That money is some of the people that I know.
It's the Edomites, but it could be some Jakes in there. So the elite's like, hey, we ain't taking no chances. We gonna cover all bases to make sure if it is some Israelites in there, they're going to fall with these people. This is the wicked of the earth, a necessary evil.
No, that's their grocery money.
See?
That's their prescription copay.
Jake in
That's
there.
the medicine that they're doing without and the food that they're doing without because these people were gouging them.
The most vulnerable residents in Michigan are being taken advantage of. And some people have to choose between rising rent, medications, and food.
In February, Holly, Theo, and other residents went to the state capitol to lobby for a new version of the bill package.
I'm testifying in support of Senate Bills 486 through 490. There's no free market when residents are trapped.
Its fate will be decided in the upcoming legislative session, this September and October.
We have overwhelming support from the Democrats in the House, and we have some Republicans who've committed to support as well.
How many legislators would you say you've met with?
I would say at least 100 of them. We've met with almost all of the Michigan Senate or their staff, and now we're starting to work on the House.
Manufactured housing communities are just one type of property that large investors have targeted in recent years. But these parks are ground zero in a fight that affects all of us. The fight for meaningful control of our neighborhoods and for housing that people from all walks of life can afford.
Everybody deserves drinkable water, and everybody deserves to have affordable housing. We just want a livable place.
Yeah, we did too. Hold on. Nah, I got 3 other little short clips here. And this all applies to your government is failing you. Starting with Eve, man. Look at this. Make sure it's sharing. Look at this here.
Lieutenant Quantisha Epps claimed to work more than 1,600.
Judah, Evite. Look at Eve in them. Check this out. Your government failed in you, Eve.
Lieutenant Quantisha Epps claimed to work more than 1,600 hours of overtime, a staggering total uncovered last month by the New York Post. It allowed Epps to pull in more than $204,000 in overtime pay, on top of her base salary of around $164,000, plus fringe benefits.
Last week, her overtime salary of more than $400,000 a year, making headlines, prompting her, according to her attorney, to come forward. She worked under Madry as personnel officer in his previous post, but according to the complaint, the sexual harassment didn't begin until after he became chief of department.
What happened here seems to be that Lieutenant Epps is under investigation internally by the NYPD since October. And the allegations are that not only was she putting in for excessive overtime, but that she was actually putting in for overtime that she had not completed or done, so that she was effectively stealing time.
Today, federal agents searched the home of former NYPD Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry.
Yeah, that move is following his sudden resignation from the department amid accusations he demanded sexual favors in exchange for overtime pay with an employee, which he claims was consensual.
Okay, we got a major update in this overtime scandal story. It gets crazy. Happy New Year and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan Laura and let's get into this crazy story about sex, lies, and overtime when it comes to the NYPD. All right, our story starts about 9 months ago when the NYPD was called out by the city council for spending massive amounts of overtime. Check it out.
The NYPD's overtime budget is soaring. It is up 50%. The department says that's because of frequent protests in New York City surrounding the conflict in Gaza. And it also is paying more to patrol the subways with the recent surge of high-profile crimes. The top brass today faced tough questions from members of the city council. Here's Eyewitness News reporter N.J. Burkett.
You get what you pay for.
NYPD Commander Edward Caban insisted today that the results speak for themselves.
Shooting incidents are down 16%, and murder has dropped 18.8%, while burglary has been reduced by 12.7%, and overall crime is down 1.6% citywide.
But in a hearing before the City Council, NYPD commanders admitted that costs are soaring. Police deployments in the subway system and details for demonstrations have blown the NYPD's overtime budget by more than $100 million, on course for an increase of 50% over their own projections. Council Speaker Adrienne Adams was firm.
The continued spending and significant excess of the budget on overtime only intensifies concerns about the department's management of its budget and workforce.
Now, as you can see in this photo, this is Chief Jeffrey Madre. He was one of the top brass there at the NYPD defending the department's overtime expenditure. So now after this occurred, the New York Post did an expose on...
So this is what I want to show right here. Let me go back to this. Right here. Eve. Let's run this right. Let's run this. Let's look at it. Come on. So lock it, bear with me here. There's Eve in the hot seat right now. Trying to get ahead. That's what I want to show right here.
Who oversaw.
Now, you may say, well, this is a he said, she said. Quantisha Epps was banging them for overtime, so that's essentially prostitution, being paid with taxpayer dollars. It's all a mess, right? They both are horrible people. But that's not the end of the story, because some other women who worked for the chief also were making monstrous amounts of overtime, like Detective Ingrid Sanders.
According to departmental records, Lieutenant Quantisha Epps, Madry's personnel officer, worked more than 1,600 hours in the fiscal year of 2024, bumping her salary to $406,000. It also shows Detective Ingrid Sanders, Madry's driver, with more than 1,400 hours of overtime, bumping her salary to $352,000. Madry's second in command, Deputy Chief Paul Saraceno, who oversaw overtime approval, was modified Wednesday evening. And Monday, Commissioner Jessica Tisch removed 14 officials from the Internal Affairs Bureau after the chief also abruptly resigned in the overtime abuse scandal.
Now, Quantisha Epps is making $400,000 a year. Ingrid is making $350,000 a year. Are there any other female officers working for the chief making monstrous amounts of overtime? Well, yes. Yes, there was. Here's Ada Reyes. She made $53,000 in overtime. New York Post reports. Now, overtime isn't something new in law enforcement. On average, NYPD officers can make between 10 to 20% of their salary.
Hold on. God damn it. Shit. Salakia.
in overtime. But now, if you compare that to the 3 women who are working for the chief, for instance, Quantisha Epps, her base salary is $164,000. So if you factor in overtime, she made 124% of her base salary. Officers working for the chief making monstrous amounts of overtime? Well, yes. Yes, there was. Here's Ada Reyes. She made $53,000 in overtime, New York Post reports. Now, overtime isn't something new in law enforcement. On average, NYPD officers can make between 10 to 20% of their salary in overtime. But now, if you compare that to the 3 women who are working for the chief, for instance, Quantisha Epps, her base salary is $164,000. So if you factor in overtime, she made 124% of her base salary in overtime. That's a lot more than the 10 to 20% on average. Ingrid Saunders, she made 84% of her estimated base salary in overtime. And Detective Reyes made 57% of her base salary in overtime. So this seemed to be a real problem. So with all these women being paid these huge amounts of overtime and all these questions about sex for public funds, the FBI and Internal Affairs said, hey, we gotta really look to see what's going on here.
An extraordinary development tonight in the long-running investigation into Douglas County Judge Christina Peterson.
In a rare move, a hearing panel decided Peterson is guilty of, quote, systemic incompetence and should not remain in office.
Now, you gotta hear why this judge was kicked off the bench, and she's going to scream racism because she's finally being held accountable for her actions. Let's get into it. This is Judge Christina Peterson. She was elected as the first Black woman probate judge in Douglas County, Georgia. This happened in 2020. Now, during that time, there was this wave of female empowerment and progressive change in politics. Some examples are Letitia James in New York, Fani Willis in Fulton County, Georgia, Tiffany A. Hinyard in Dalton, Illinois, and Judge Christina Peterson.
In Central Florida, protests are anticipated. We are following breaking news as nationwide protests begin all across the country and are now happening here in Central Florida. No matter where you are today in Central Florida, protests are anticipated to be so widespread that you're probably within just a few miles of one. Here's a look at some already underway in Brevard, Orange, and Seminole counties. Good afternoon, I'm Sam Martello. Thanks so much for joining us. Take a look at this map here. These are all of the planned protests throughout our area happening today. At least 14 protests are planned, and most are in major cities. We have live team coverage on all of the protests happening across our area. Channel 9's JJ Burton is live for us in Cocoa, but first we begin with Channel 9's Giovanni Diaz, who's live in Castleberry. Gio, you've been checking out protests across different parts of our area today.
I sure have, Sam. We are, as you mentioned, here in Castleberry along 436, and as you can see, there are protesters on both sides of the road, and the number just keeps growing by the minute here. Just in the last hour or so, I saw the number just spike out here. I spoke with one of the organizers just moments ago, about 5 minutes ago, and he told me that there are right now about 1,800 people here today protesting across all along 436. I've been talking to protesters all throughout the day. One of them explained to me why they thought it was important to be here today. Take a listen.
I love this country. I love what it's meant to stand for, but I see the freedoms, the liberties, the things that America once stood for being stripped away, the things that my husband served this country for. As an immigrant, I'm scared even though I'm here legally.
You're now looking at images from Apopka. Around 10 o'clock this morning, we visited the location where the protest was happening out there. You can see they were all holding signs and chanting against the immigration policies implemented by the government so far. It was a peaceful protest. We saw Apopka police officers following along the crowd just to make sure everyone was safe. The demonstration started at Kitland Nelson Park and went down Forest Avenue, and folks of all ages joined the movement.
If some people don't start standing up, bad things happen when good people do nothing. You have to defend our Constitution.
People here back live in Castleberry are protesting, but also there's a lot of people helping people protest. I've seen folks giving out signs, water, snacks. You can see based on how it is going on here, it is a peaceful protest. We'll stay out here for a few more minutes. I'll have an update for you in the next 15 minutes. Reporting live in Castleberry, I'm Giovanni Diaz, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Gio, thank you. We continue our live team coverage with Channel 9's JJ Burton, who's live for us in Brevard County. And JJ, thousands of people were expected to be at that protest today in Cocoa.
And they expect 2,000 to come out here, but it's probably more than 2,000. You can see there's protesters on each side of the street out here on US 1 and West King Street. Again, more than 2,000 out here, and for the most part, so far, everything's been peaceful.
Hey, hey, hello, Donald Trump's got to go!
US 1 and West King Street. Protesters have taken over every single corner of this intersection, spreading a very important message. And they call it the No Kings movement. And they're also fighting back against President Donald Trump's immigration policy.
No kings. We're a democracy, we're a democratic republic, and those luxuries are getting taken away. So that's what I mean by the messaging here, is that that's not going to happen.
Now, these protests were planned long before the protests in LA last week. This all stems from last February when the president linked himself to a king after a battle with Democrats. The president did speak out against this, saying that he's not a king. He doesn't think of himself as a king. However, these protesters say otherwise. Now, for the most part, things are peaceful out here, and they're going to be out for several more hours. There's also law enforcement out here as well, and we saw there was a chopper above for the sheriff's office. And these protests are just one of thousands going on across the country today. And these protests just one of thousands going on across the country today. And again, the people out here say they have a message, and they're getting that message across, and again, being peaceful out here in Cocoa. I'm JJ Burton reporting live in Cocoa for Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, JJ, thank you. Now, this is a look at Volusia County, where hundreds protested just within the last hour in Daytona Beach. This is just one of many places across the region where residents are taking to the streets, as you've seen, to protest President Donald Trump's policies. Now over to downtown Orlando. Demonstrators showed up almost 6 hours before the start of that 5 p.m. protest that's scheduled there. This is video from Skywitness 9 less than an hour ago, showing the crowd of people there very early. And we will be bringing you coverage from several more of the planned protests across Central Florida today. At 3, a protest will be held at the Kissimmee Trail Bridge. A protest will also be held at Orlando City Hall again at 5. And there will be another one in Orange City starting in less than an hour.
Strong's H 5826. Azer. Azer.
Damn, my sound went out. Oh man. I done went through all these pre-sales with no sound. Damn, Salakia. Hey, Salakia. God damn it. Well, I'm about to close anyway. I done ran through those free pre-sales with no sound. Salakia, man. So I was making a point with the about the support. You know what? Let me just go back. Let me just go back to it. I was going to the Isaiah 13. The 15, as it reads, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. And as it tell you in Revelations 13, when they say who is like unto the beast, who can make war with the beast, which is this system, because 2/3 of Jake trust in this system. I ain't know the sound was out. So I'm gonna run back through this real quick. So I was making a point with Isaiah 3:1. Let's go back to it. Let me just go back to it. So in Isaiah 3:1, I was saying how the Lord taking away the support. I didn't know the sound was gone, man. I don't know how far the sound was at. Probably when I started the blue letter. So going back here in Isaiah 30:1, dealing with this. Isaiah 30:1, woe to rebellious children of Yahweh that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with their covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. So, Jake, we all had this covering, but the Lord has removed this covering from us after being reactivated to the truth. So this covering has been removed after being reactivated to the truth. So Salakia for that sound, I ain't even know. I guess it started when I switched over to the blue letter, because I've been listening all the way up to this point when I was playing the videos. So this covering that Jake has taken is of the so-called white man. Like the Lord pulled us away from this, because we always following this covering, but the Lord pulled us away from this covering, from trusting in this system. But the 2/3 is still left there. So it reads, woe to the rebellious children of Yahweh that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with their covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked in my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame. This is the point I want to make. The trust, it said the strength of Pharaoh shall be your shame. So I read the Hosea 4:7. Because whatever you glorify in it now, it's going to be your shame in that day. This Hosea 4:7, as they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame. So right here it say, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame. You trusting in the so-called white man in his system. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Verse 5, they were all ashamed of a people who are 2/3 of Israel going to be ashamed of the so-called white man. They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor be in help, nor profit, but a shame and a reproach, and also a reproach. See, and that reproach is whatever you glorify in is going to be your shame in that day, right? Let's get this in 31. And again, Salakia for the volume. I thought it's good when I switched over. So this is Isaiah 31:1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many. In this government, right? And in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek Yahweh. Yet he also is wise and will bring evil, the Lord, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers, which is 2/3 of Israel, and against the help of them that work iniquity. Who is the help? The government, the system. Now the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. Right here, the Lord said the Egyptians, with the modern day Egyptians today, is the Edomites. So the Edomites are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. These horses represent power. So the Lord is saying that these Egyptians, their power is flesh, right? It's carnal and not spirit. Let's prove that. When you go to Jeremiah 17, which I did, but I know the volume was off. Jeremiah 17:5, it reads this. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departed from the Lord. See? So it said that the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horse is flesh, meaning their power flesh and not spirit. When Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall. It's your government that's doing the helping. And he that is hoping shall fall down. They shall all fall together. And this is when I went to this word hoping here. Let's get it. I'm going back through the same trace because the volume was down. I didn't know. Salaki again. This word hoping here, NLT. Well, not the NLT. I meant to get Salaki the interlinear on this. This is the word hoping. So the Lord here is talking to those that's doing the help and those that's getting help, right? And this word here, help, is Izar.
Strong's H 5826. Azer.
Is Izar, which means help, to help, succor, which is help, support. And this is what I'm making the point on. That's what I'm making the point on this, right? Because my name is Isaiah, which is helped of Yahweh. So it said to be helped. That's what Isaiah means, helped of Yahweh. So it said to help, be helped, support, right? I.e. protect or aid, help, succor. Now, I went to, because this is the help. Jake trusting his government, right? When you go to 2 Corinthians, this is 2 Corinthians 4:8. This word perplex. When you go to this word here, perplex, right? So those that trust in the government, they ain't gonna have no help, man. And we've seen it happen now. It say to be without resources, to be in straits, to be left wanting. Matter of fact, let me read this because I was making that point. Let me read it. This is 2 Corinthians 4:8. It reads, we are troubled on every side. Why? Because of the so-called white man. They tell you that in Psalms 12:8. It reads, Psalm 12:8 reads, let me read it from the phone. See, Jake trusting these devils, man. And we always should trust in the so-called white man, but the Lord weaned the whole elect off that. Psalm 12:8. The wicked, who? The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Job called them vile in Job 30. So right here say we are troubled. 2 Corinthians 4:8. We are troubled on every side. Why? Because the vilest men are exalted. The Edomites. Yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Right? So this word here, this word perplex, going into the word help, the word hoping in Isaiah 31, those that's going to be helped by the government, in the end, you ain't going to have nothing. Let's get this word perplex here. G639. To be without resources, right? To be in straits, to be left wanting, to be embarrassed, to be in doubt. Why? Because you ain't took a covenant of the Lord. not to know which way to turn, to be a loss with oneself, be in doubt, not to know how to decide or what to do, because you ain't gonna have the Spirit guiding you. You ain't gonna know what to do. It said you ain't even know how to decide. Strong definition say to have no way out, i.e., be at a loss mentally. You ain't gonna know how to decide. Mentally, you're gonna be destroyed, man, because you didn't take a covenant of the Lord, right? So then I went to it's the Isaiah 36:6. Right? It reads this. Lo, thou trusted in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. So we're going to go to this translation in the NET. To all that trust in Babylon the Great, right? It's NET. Look, you must be trusting in Egypt, that splintered reed staff. If someone leans on it for support, it punches his hand and wounds him. This is what Pharaoh, king of Egypt, does to all who trust in him. See? So you trusting in this devil for support, ain't gonna be no support, man. You ain't gonna have no way to help. You ain't gonna have no help in that day. Hey, so Salakia again for the volume. Lord was edifying. I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rikah Kodash. Let me get this too. Double honors to the apostles, elder, bishop, and elders of great millstone, rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, ready to accept it or not. In the sincere salutation to all the ark, pushing the truth and believing it's true. Throughout the four ends of the earth, the entire world shall light to the whole elect. Shalom to the Akwa who are listening, learning. If you sisters who are listening, learning, walk tuning in. May Yahweh by Shemel Shah continue blessing your houses. May the blessing of Alexia be upon your house. Till next time, I say Shalom. Wa Ubab. This is Isaiah 3:1. In the NET, it reads, look, the sovereign Lord who commands armies is about to remove from Jerusalem and Judah every source of security, including all the food and water. See, every source of security, man. Right? When you go to let me get this. When you go to Amos 9:1, this is what the Lord say. He's removing the foundation of the so-called white man. I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door that the post may shake, and cut them in the head. Right? When you go to this in the translation, you read this in the NLT. Then I saw a vision of the Lord standing beside the altar. He said, strike the tops of the temple columns so that the foundation will shake. Bring down the roof on the heads of the people below. I will kill with the sword those who survive. No one will escape. See, the Lord say, strike the top of the temple column so that the foundation will shake. What foundation? America's system, man. It's government, man. So everybody that trusts in the so-called white man's government, this system, you're going to fall. You will be destroyed, man. Like I said in Isaiah 13, just get this one. And I went through all these precepts, but the volume was down. So I'm just going back through it before I close. Because they trust in this government, man. And it said in Revelation 13, they said, who is like the beast? Who can make war with the beast? So Jake is cleaving to these devils because, what it said in Revelation 13, by the means of their miracles, man. So it all looks good. The technology. Look how far the so-called white man has advanced in technology. Look at the phone, the computers. Isaiah 13 and 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So eventually, man, and we watching your government fail you. And I was finna get the word. Let's get the two definitions for the word fail, right? This is fail, be unsuccessful, in achieving one's goal, right? And they got a grade that is not high enough to pass an examination or test. So let's get the other word fail, which is F-E-E, which is F-E-L-L, right? Let's see the difference. See, it say pass or fall. That's it. They don't even got no different, that's it. They got fail, knock over, knock down, strike down, bring down, ground. That's it. Isaiah 47, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. One of the words say ground, kill, cut down, mow down, blast. Yeah. Lay out, KO, flatten. That's it. And the other fail, F-A-I-L. See if they got in the similar words. It got let down, disappoint, neglect, desert, abandon, betray, play someone false. See? Yeah. Betrayal. And that's what the so-called man doing, man. Break down, break, give out, go wrong, cut out. Give up the ghost. Ooh. That's the Job 11:20, man. The so-called white man gonna try to give up the ghost, man. That's the best hope they got. This one of the words for fail, F-A-I-L, to give up the ghost. Ooh, that's cold. I gotta close with that. That's cold. This is Job. That's cold. Can't make this up. Job 11:20. It reads, but the eyes of the wicked shall fail. See? If the Edomite is going to fail, what's going to happen to you, Jakes? But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. Ooh, cold. See? Because I tell you in 2 Ezra 16, it said they that consent unto him. Matter of fact, let me close with that. Most of our people have consented with the system, man. They have consented with the system. 2 Ezra 16 and 68, it reads, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you being idle with things offered unto idols. That's 2/3. That's the 2/3. They're already following idols now. They're already idle now, right? They're already idle. And they that consent unto them. When you read that in Isaiah 28:15 on down, man. What did Jake say? Let me read it. They made a covenant with death, and that hell are they had agreement. So they already in consented with this devil, man. So these is the ones that's gonna be easily taken, because they already made a covenant with him, man. Isaiah 28:15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing score shall pass through, then it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge. Don't the scripture tell you that Esau, it say, let me read it. We have made lies our refuge, and on a falsehood have we hid ourselves. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on here. Let me get this in Google. Bear with me. I got to get this. This is Psalms. It's a couple of them here. Psalm 144:8. Let me get the Psalms 119 and 1. Let's hold on. Let me come back to the 2nd Ezra. Bear with me here. I got to get this. Psalms 119. Psalm 119 and 118. It reads, Thou hast trodden down all them that err from thy statutes, right? For their deceit is falsehood. Then you got the one in Psalm 144. But this goes back to the so-called white man. I'm going to prove it here. Psalm 144 and 7. Send thy hand from above, rid me, and the Lord and Yahweh's hand is Yahweh. Rid me and deliver me out of great waters, from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speak vanity, which is emptiness, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. Right? Where's the other one at? You got Psalms. Hold on here. It's a few of these, man, dealing with this devil and his falsehood. Let me see here. Bear with me, looking for some of these. It was another one. Thought it was one in hold on. Psalms. I can't find it right off. It was another one I wanted. Let me see. Oh, it say they. Let me type it in. I'm trying to think of how it's worded. Bear with me. And bring forth. That's it. Psalm 7. Call like Yahweh Shema Shah. This is one I wanted. Psalm 7 in verse 14 it reads. I'm going to read 9, right? It reads, Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God trieth the hearts and reins. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous and is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He have bent his bow and made it ready. He have also prepared for him the instruments of death. This is what the Lord prepared for the wicked. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. Who is our persecutors? Those that control the resources. Verse 14, behold, listen, because I'm making this point, I'm adding this with Isaiah 28, when Jake said they have made under death, they have made a covenant with death, right? An agreement, right? And then on the falsehood, how they hid themselves. Our people they hide themselves under the so-called white man's falsehood, right? It reads, Psalm 7 and 14, behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and he conceiveth mischief, and bring forth falsehood. He made a pit and digged it, and is falling into the ditch which he made. Now his people is falling into the ditch that the so-called white man made for you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. His people is falling into this now. His mission shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pate. Again, 14, behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and have conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. This is why I got this. Because Jake done made a covenant with this so-called white man. Because who the Lord talking to? The prophet talking to Jake. Verse 14, wherefore hear the word of Yahweh, ye scornful men. Who, Lord? That rule this people which is in Jerusalem. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. Why are they saying this? For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. See? So going back to 2 Ezra 16, it reads, 2 Ezra 16 and 68, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you. Who? And feed you, being idle things offered unto idols. Who is being idle? It's the 2/3 of Jake, man. They don't want to, well, they can't return to Yahweh Shema Shai. So they don't have no choice but to be idle, because the Lord don't want them. See, but it said, they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. Who? Those that's being idle, right? They're going to get snatched up. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden under foot. So, and to tell you the same thing in Isaiah right here, 28, right? It said when the overflow, let's read it. It read right here. Isaiah 28 and 18. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled. And this is why you see all these rappers catching hell. Hey, the Lord is disannulling that agreement, because the Lord, the Heavenly Father, He's our Father and our husband. He can disannul this. Hey, Yahweh is our husband, Yahweh is our Father, and Yahweh Shai is our husband, man. And they have both disannulled the agreement that Jake made with the government, with the system. Whether you're a rapper, movie actor, athlete, hey, you trying to get it, you're a journalist, you're a lawyer, right? You selling dope, whatever you're doing, you're the neighborhood activist, hey, Black consciousness movement, with a Christian, whatever you're doing, the Lord is going to disannul that agreement which you made with the so-called white man. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down by it. See, from the time that it goeth forth, when in Jacob's trouble, it shall take you. From morning by morning shall it pass over. Hey, because we don't know how long Jacob's trouble going to drag out. By day and by night, and it shall be a vexation to only to understand the report. What's the report? That your ass didn't repent. You should have repented. So here, in 2 Ezra 16, 69, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and trodden on the, and in reproach and trodden on the foot. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So they're going to happen to those that fear the Lord. What you think will happen to those that don't fear the Lord? See, they shall be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. See, but the 2/3 that made a covenant with these devils, because you trust in this system, they're going to be taken, man. Hey, so again, Salakia for the volume. Hey, but Kala Yahaba Shema Shah. Shalom, Wa Abba Ball.